I've spent over a decade building leaders. I've mentored professionals, entrepreneurs, and impactful Muslims who have gone on to inspire others and make a lasting difference. Along the way, I've discovered what truly separates inspiring leaders from those who struggle to lead effectively. And in this video, I'll be sharing with you the powerful 5-step framework that I call the Inspiring Leader Blueprint. It's designed to help you transform your mindset, relationships, and execution so you can lead with confidence, inspire others, and create real impact in this dunya and the akhirah. This video will break down each of the 5 steps and show you exactly how to apply them in your life. Whether you're leading your family, a team at work, or an organization, these principles will give you the tools you need to lead in a way that aligns with your iman and delivers powerful results. So bismillah, let's get straight into it. So I'm just jumping on to the laptop because it's going to be much better for you to have a screen in front of you where you can see what I'm talking about, because this will help you to internalize it, remember it, and actually use it. So let's get straight into it. There are 5 main components when it comes to the formula. The first is the unstoppable mindset. So this is all about what happens to you internally. The second is the compelling vision. This is all about where you're leading to. Then we have unbreakable relationships, because this is a key part of leading others. We also have the impactful communication, about how do you communicate in a way that helps you to lead with impact. And then relentless execution, which is one of the most important parts of it all. So let's get straight into it. What exactly is mindset? You've probably heard this term so many times, right? Basically, the mindset, it refers to a set of beliefs, attitudes, and thought patterns that shape how you perceive and react to the world around you. Okay. Now, when you think about the mindset, you want to think about everything that's happening internally. Okay. That's your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, everything. And this approach, this is something for you to think about, that it affects every part of your life. The way you approach challenges, the way you deal with opportunities, the way you deal with setbacks. Basically, it's the lens that you look at the world through and how you interpret it. So we're going to go a bit deeper into this, right? Why does it actually matter? Now, this is a really, really important point, right? I want to tell you something that's going to change, inshallah, the way you look at your life and the important things within it. The first thing is I want to tell you about the ayah of Quran where Allah says that He created death and life in order to test who is best in deeds, right? So the whole of this death and life is a test. So how do we pass the test? Because obviously it's Allah's test, very serious consequences. We want to pass it. How do we actually ensure that we pass it? Well, the way you pass it is by having the best deeds. Okay, so Allah wants to test who is best in deeds. So who does the best deeds? So in order for you to have the best deeds, how are you actually going to do that? What is the step for you having the best deeds? Well, it comes from you having the best actions. So the way you take the action, it's going to impact whether that is the best of deeds or the worst of deeds or something in between. Okay. Well, what determines what actions you take, and how can you ensure that they're the best of actions? Well, as we know, the Prophet ﷺ said that actions are by intentions. So the best actions will have the best intentions within them. So if you have an action which looks really good, but the intention is bad, it's not the best of actions. Okay, so if you want to pass the test of life, you have to start thinking about these things, the deeds, the actions, the intentions. But what actually is defining your intentions? Well, that is the best decisions. Okay, so for example, let's say that, I always love giving the YouTube example. Let's say you're chilling and you're just watching YouTube and you don't feel like getting up. Okay, so now you have a decision to make. It's Salah time, maybe it's Asr time. You have a decision. Am I going to get up and pray? Am I going to stay here and not pray? Okay, you see, that decision, it will actually form the basis of your intention, your actions, and your deeds. So this all links back to your decisions. But what do the decisions depend upon? Well, this comes back to your mindset. Your mindset is actually the thing that will determine whether you make this decision or not, and how you make the decision. And this is why it's so important for you to think about your whole life being about your mindset. And this is why we're going to spend so much time on the mindset, because it's the first part and probably the most important part, and it's everything to do with what is happening with you internally. So the next part is the types of mindsets. Okay, so I want to go through different versions for you so that you can actually understand the different types of mindsets. And as I'm doing this, I want you to really think about which mindset you feel you're in right now. It doesn't matter where you are. The most important thing is to figure out what kind of mindset you have. So the first one I'm going to go through is the fixed mindset. So this is someone who basically believes that their ability, their intelligence, their talents, everything they have is fixed. They think that you are born with a certain amount of skill or intelligence and it can't be changed much over time, right? So maybe this is how you think. This is your mindset. The key characteristics, well, you believe that these things cannot be developed. You avoid challenges, right? Why? Because you want to avoid failure. And really, when you see other people that are really successful, maybe you feel a little bit threatened by it. And maybe you feel that it's not worth trying. Effort is not worth it. Why? Because if you have to try hard at something, it might be that you're not good at it. And like dealing with that and coming to the conclusion that you are not good at it is very, very painful. Okay. And maybe you struggle with setbacks or failures and you see them as permanent. So this is something that you want to think about. And you don't want to think about it in a very overt way. You want to think about it in a way where you actually are dealing with this in a subtle way. So rather than you just thinking, okay, no, I don't have this, I don't have this, think about the way you think about different things. Because on the surface, no one likes to be told that, okay, you're not good with failure, you're not good with this. But I want you to really think about this. And an example of this is someone with a fixed mindset might avoid public speaking because they believe that they're not good enough and they're not good at it. And they think that no matter what they do, it won't change it. Right? So think about the kind of mindset you have, and maybe in different areas you have different mindsets. The next one is a growth mindset. Okay, so this is the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed over time through hard work, learning, and persistence. Okay, and the main characteristics of this are that you believe abilities and intelligence can be developed, and therefore you embrace challenges as opportunities to grow. And you learn from the failures that you go through and you see it as part of the journey. And you realize that for you to become a master or successful at something, you have to go through failure. And you believe that success is the result of continuous learning and development. Okay, so this is another mindset which is the opposite of a fixed mindset, right? This is like, yes, I can become better at things. Yes, I can do things. It doesn't matter if I fail. All of those kind of things. And an example of someone with a growth mindset would approach public speaking as an opportunity to improve, practice regularly, and accept that mistakes are part of the learning process. So this is where the main difference is in the mindset. Now, there's actually another mindset which I discovered recently, because this is from a woman called Carol Dweck, I think it is. She wrote a book called Mindset, and she came up with this concept of fixed and growth mindsets. But there's also another mindset that I think is more appropriate for us as Muslims, right? This is called the benefit mindset. Okay, you might not have heard about this. The benefit mindset is basically extends the growth mindset by focusing not only on personal growth, but also on how one's development and effort can positively impact others. People with a benefit mindset believe that their skills and actions are a means to serve and benefit others. It's about using one's potential for a greater purpose and contributing to the well-being and success of the community or society at large. This mindset shifts the focus from how can I grow to how can I make a difference. Okay, so this is saying that the higher level of the growth mindset is actually the benefit mindset, where you're not just worried about your own growth, but you're actually thinking about others and how you can benefit them. And this is so important. I'm going to come to a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved of people to Allah are those that benefit others. Okay, so this benefit mindset, this is actually a very Islamic concept. And the key characteristics are that you believe that growth and success should serve as a greater good or purpose. And you focus on the impact that one can have on others and the world. And you seek to contribute to the well-being and success of others. And you find motivation in helping others, not just in personal achievement. And this mindset encourages collective growth and community development. Right? So an example of this is a person with a benefit mindset may pursue leadership roles not only for their own career advancement, of course that might be part of it, but also to support and uplift others, believing their success can empower others and bring positive change to their community or society. Okay, so I hope that you understand this mindset. It's the next level up to the growth mindset. So now you need to consider yourself, where are you right now and where would you like to be? And like I said before, you might find that in certain areas of your life, you have a very good growth mindset. And then in another part of your life, you have a very fixed mindset. Maybe when it comes to family, for example, you might have a fixed mindset. Or when it comes to a friend mindset, you might have a benefit mindset, right? So you want to think about where are you right now and where do you want to be? And here's like a summary of the different versions of them. Where do you actually want to be? Now, I want to share with you the advice from the Prophet ﷺ, which should tell you where you want to be, where he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, paradise has 100 levels, and between every 2 levels is a distance like that between the heavens and the earth. Al-Firdaus is its highest level, from which 4 rivers of paradise flow, and above is the throne. When you ask from Allah, ask for Al-Firdaus. So the Prophet ﷺ, his words were so concise, but so much meaning to them. He's basically telling us about Jannah, and he's saying, when you're going to ask Allah for Jannah, like, don't just ask to get into Jannah or the lowest levels, like, ask for the highest levels of Jannah. It doesn't matter who you are. He didn't say, look, if you're a really pious person, ask for the highest. He didn't say if you're a really good person. No, he said, ask for Al-Firdaus. And it's the same with your mindset. When you're thinking about what kind of mindset you want to have, you want to ensure that you have the benefit mindset, because the benefit mindset is much better and bigger than the fixed mindset, of course, but even more than the growth mindset. And when you align it and your mindset is for Allah, that itself will be a massive, massive thing. And we'll come to that later as well, inshallah. Now, what are the main components? Because each of these parts, this 5-part formula, they have 3 components that I've put in here to make it very easy for you to develop that. So for you to develop an unstoppable mindset, the first thing is for you to have high standards, right? For you to have high standards. And this is what the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ has showed us there, that our standards, they should be the highest. And the point is that in your mindset internally, when you have these standards, they will dictate everything that happens in your life. So for example, most people in their life will grow up, sleeping in a house, in a bed, and all this kind of stuff. And for them to live on the streets or be homeless, this would be a standard below which they would accept, right? So most of their life, they'll probably not be homeless. I'm talking about the majority of mankind, right? But if someone else has a different life, they may have a different standard and they will go according to that standard. So the first thing is for you to have that high standard. And you need to realize that in order for you to actually get to a high result, you need to start with high standards. So this could be in simple things, like for example, with your timing. You might feel like, right, I have to be very, very good with my timing. I need to have high standards when I'm doing my timing. I need to have high standards when I'm doing this, when I'm doing that. And there's actually a hadith with the Prophet ﷺ, he said that Allah has written ihsan. Ihsan is excellence, high standards, the best. Allah has written ihsan for every single thing, right? So ihsan is not just, okay, ihsan only in this thing or that thing. It's just in everything. So even the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, he talks about like when you're slaughtering an animal, right? Like make sure you slaughter it well. Make sure you sharpen the blade. Make sure the animal doesn't see the blade. All of these things to do something with a high standard. And this is the way you need to be. Like right now, when you're thinking about your own leadership, you're thinking about impacting others, your mindset, do not settle for less. Do not have a low standard. Rather, you want to have a very, very high standard, and you want to make sure that you raise your standards. Okay? You want to raise your standards, and you want to realize that the results are going to come from Allah. So what that means is you just need to set your standard, and then you need to go to work on it. But the first thing is for you to have those high standards in your mindset, in everything that relates to it as well. The next thing is for you to have urgency. Now, urgency is very, very important. Urgency basically means that you feel that need that you have to do something now. And I feel this is an internal thing. What happens if you have no urgency? Well, you take no action and nothing happens, right? So in order for you to be successful, in order for you to make sure that your mindset is at the highest levels, it's not just about having high standards, but it's having that hunger and that urgency to actually fulfill those high standards. And you want to develop this in yourself where you think, I don't have unlimited time. I need to do this now. I need to do this soon. You want to think of time as very, very limited. And you want to think about yourself. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that when you think about, like when you're living a normal day, like you shouldn't really expect, I'm paraphrasing, you shouldn't really expect to live the whole night. Right? And if you're there in the night, don't expect to live the whole day. Like this is the kind of mindset we should be thinking. And so when you think about your high standards and you've got a high standard now, the next thing that should come to your mind is that this is a high standard for Allah that I want to do, but I don't have much time. So I need to get onto this immediately. And that's where urgency comes in. And this is by you realizing that you are very limited in time. You do not have the time that you think. Shaitan really, really tricks you. He makes you think that you're going to live forever. He makes you avoid the whole discussion around death just so you don't feel bad, and then you mess up. So you need to have that urgency that comes with it. Then the third and final element is belief. Okay, you need to have that belief. Now, of course, there is iman in the sense of the Islamic iman, and that is amazing for you to be a proper leader. I would say it's the fundamental thing for you to be the leader. And within that, there's lots of Islamic concepts that will help you to do that. For example, trusting in Allah. Right? Actually trusting in Allah. So once you have your high standards, once you have your urgency, you need to put your trust in Allah, because whoever puts their trust in Allah, Allah will be sufficient for them, and Allah will never let you down. So with that in mind, you should be thinking, right, it doesn't matter what I choose, I just need to put my trust in Allah and I need to go with it. So all of these Islamic concepts that we learn about patience and tawakkul and all this stuff, we need to make sure that we embody that. But part of this also is you having the belief that you can achieve this thing. Okay? So many times we will look at ourselves and we will think, oh, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. Well, if you're going to lead others to it, you need to have that belief in yourself. So you want to cultivate that belief internally where you believe, yes, I have these high standards, but also I believe we will get there. And this is so important when you get to places where you are stuck. And I'll give you an example. If you think about Musa alayhi salam, when he was leading the people away from Pharaoh, like imagine you've left Pharaoh now and you're thinking, man, if these guys catch us, we're going to die, right? So you're following Musa alayhi salam all the way, following him. And then you get there and all you see is water. You just see water everywhere. It's the sea. And you're thinking, oh my word, like now we're done. Okay? And if you don't have that belief, then you would maybe start saying stuff to Musa alayhi salam. Like some people might have said something to him, right? Like, you know, Musa, you're causing us problems. Why do you do this? Why do we leave Fir'aun anyway? We're going to die, all this stuff. But the leader is someone who has that belief. And this is what Musa alayhi salam had. He knew that Allah will help them. And this is what happened. Allah created a miracle for them. But you can't lose your belief. You can't lose your iman. You need to make sure that you stick with your principles, and by you sticking with your principles and doing it for Allah, Allah will help you, and in the end you will be successful. Even if you lose in the dunya, you will in the end be successful, and you need to hold that belief close to you as well. So just as a side point, if you want help to build the mindset, because obviously in this video we're trying to go over the leadership thing, we have this special thing which you can get access to. It's called the Fearless Muslim, and it's a special boot camp where I go through different areas that are really going to help you to build your mindset. It's going to help you to overcome your fears, deal with negative thinking, all of these kind of things. It's going to help you. So all you need to do is click the link in the video and you can go there, or you can just check out muslimmastery.com/fearless, muslimmastery.com/fearless, and you can actually download and get access to that for free right now, inshallah. So let's get into the next step. We covered already the unstoppable mindset. What is the next component? We said it is the compelling vision. Okay, so what is a compelling vision? A compelling vision is a powerful, clear, and inspiring picture of the future that motivates and guides individuals or groups towards achieving a set of goals. Okay, so this is basically just a picture of where you are trying to get to. And this is something that gives you a sense of direction. It gives you a purpose. It gives you a reason for action, and it makes the future something that feels like you can actually do it. And this is not just about what or how. So when you're creating this vision, you need to make sure that it's emotional as well, right? But the main thing I want you to remember is really the vision is a destination. But you don't want it just to be any destination. Like imagine, may Allah protect us, I said, okay guys, I'm going to take you to Jahannam. Like you're like, yes, that's a destination, but we don't want to go there, right? So you need to make sure that it is a compelling thing. It's something that people desire, something that people want to actually achieve and do and go to. And so when you're thinking about this, you want to make sure that your destination is not only clear in the way that you describe it, but it's something that people enjoy, people like, and they actually want to get there. And this is such a powerful thing, as you're going to see, because what this will do is it really helps you to decision make in a really good way. So imagine you say, right, we're going to go from London to Manchester. And you're thinking, well, how do we get there? Well, just by you being clear on the destination, it will help you to make a decision. Do we go the M1 North? Do we go the M1 South? And this is what will help you, because you now know where you're going, and therefore you can actually make decisions. And like we showed before, how important decisions are in actually getting to success. So a compelling vision provides a lens through which you can evaluate opportunities and challenges. The second thing is that it builds resilience. When challenges arise, a clear vision keeps you focused and reminds you why you are persevering. You know, there's a saying, they say the why is more important than the how, because the why is actually the fuel. This is the way that you achieve something. So imagine you want to go and do something, right? Like, you're thinking about something like, may Allah protect you. Let's say that there is a fire in your house. And I've had a fire in my family home, and it was absolutely terrible. So you imagine, may Allah protect you, that you have something like this, right? And you want to get home from work. Imagine there's no cars. What would you do? You would maybe get a taxi or a bus. What if there's no taxi? Well, you would walk or run. The point is, because the reason is so important, you will achieve it no matter what. And in the same way, the vision becomes your fuel. When it becomes hard, when you have setbacks, when you fail, you keep thinking about where you want to get to. And this is why, as Muslims, for us, one of the compelling visions that Allah keeps painting for us is Jannah. Right? So when this life is hard, when you're going through tough times and you're feeling difficult, all this stuff, you keep thinking about Jannah. It keeps re-energizing you. It keeps putting focus back onto why you are doing things in the way that you're doing it as well. And then this is something that attracts others, right? So many times you've heard motivational speakers out there talking about certain subjects, and because they paint this vision, you buy into that vision and you think, yeah, I want to go and do that. Like if you think about people like Malcolm X or Muhammad Ali and all these people who painted that picture of freedom for people in America with the civil rights movement, it was trying to show them a better world. Even Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream, it paints a picture of a world. And what happens with something like that is that people, they latch onto that and it attracts people, and they then join the cause and they then become motivated to go on that. And that's fundamentally what you want as a leader, right? Like you want people to be aligned and bought into it and stuff. And I'm saying to you, the key of this is actually communicating and having a great vision as well. So what are the components for a compelling vision? Well, the first one is Allah's paradigm. What do I mean by this? I mean that anything you do in life, you want to not just do it. Okay, this is like obviously Nike's famous thing, just do it. We don't want to just do it. What we want to do is we want to do it for Allah. And we want to be sure before we do anything that we are doing this for Allah, right? And this could be anything. Like you could be deciding, okay, cool, I'm going to go shopping now. Well, you could actually do it for with Allah's paradigm. You could do it where you do it for the sake of Allah. So for example, you could say, right, I'm going to go shopping now, but I'm going to go shopping for providing for my family. Or I'm going to go shopping to buy food for my parents. Or I'm going to go shopping so that I have energy so I can worship Allah properly. Like this all comes back to you choosing and doing things for the sake of Allah. So I'm saying if you're going to create this grand vision, this compelling vision that all the followers are going to come back to, I'm saying put Allah at the center and the start and the end of all of that. So when you're thinking about this vision, make sure it is something that Allah would be pleased with. Make sure pleasing Allah is part of what you want to do in your vision. And I'm saying having that at the start, it basically ensures that you win. Because once you've done it for Allah, suddenly like you win. The results don't even matter. Like you just doing it, it means you are successful. So having Allah's paradigm when you're thinking about like crafting this vision, this is one of the most important things. The next is a clear future. So one of the big issues is that people are unclear. And when people are unclear, they go slow. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes I'm driving behind someone and they're just driving really slow. Most of the time they're on their phone when they shouldn't be, or they're lost. And because they're lost, they're looking around and they're just very slow. But you know what? The people that know where they're going, for example, your route from work to home, you're very clear on that route and you can make that route quite fast. But if you don't have clarity, you basically slow yourself down and it could actually ruin things fully. So when you're crafting this vision, you need to make sure that it's very clear. Make sure that it's very concrete. Okay, when Allah's describing Jannah, He doesn't say, okay, just a place where you're going to get everything you want. That's it. Like, He'll describe the rivers, He'll describe the tree, He'll describe the food. Like, this is the kind of stuff that happens. So when you are creating a vision, you need to make sure it's clear. You need to make sure it's concrete. You need to make sure that it's painted in a way where the other person actually can see it in front of them, because when they see it, then they feel that desire. Oh my God, like I feel like this is it. It's like when someone describes like a food in a really nice way, you're like, oh man, like I really want that. So in the same way, you want to make sure that it's clear, it's concrete, and it's something that people would desire as well. The third thing is for you to lead by example. So if this is a vision that you want to do, one of the most important things is for you to do it by action. The Prophet ﷺ, he helped to build the masjid with his own hands. He could have just sat back and said, no, you guys just carry on, but he would do it himself. So in the things that we do, we need to do the same thing. So for example, if you think about something like lateness, you cannot be turning up late to all the meetings and then expect your team to be on time to the meetings. Right? Like, you have to lead by example. And this is one of the biggest things. The Prophet ﷺ always took action. He always led by example. And then when you do that, you will start to create that culture of these kind of things. So you want to make sure that you are leading by example as well. So that is the first step of the unstoppable mindset done, the compelling vision. And then the next one is unbreakable relationships. So what are unbreakable relationships? Well, they are connections that can withstand challenges, adversity, and time. And they stay strong and resilient no matter what happens. These relationships are built on a foundation of trust, mutual respect, and unwavering support. They go beyond superficial bounds, reaching a depth that enables individuals to weather life's ups and downs together. Okay, so I'm talking about the strongest possible relationships. And I know there are some people in your life that you don't have that strong relationships with, but there are some people who you have very, very strong relationships with. Like, there's one of my friends, may Allah bless him, his name's Zishan, right? I have thought in my mind that Zishan can say anything about me or whatever, and like he's a made guy. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Just because of the way we've been with each other, the relationships we've had, all these kind of things. So in that same mindset, you want to make sure that you have these relationships. Why? Why are these relationships important? Well, the first thing is that strong relationships, they build trust. And what this means is that your team members, they feel valued and supported. And this actually leads to much better loyalty and commitment. The next thing is that by you having better relationships, you actually are able to work together better, right? It's not just about the work in its sense. You imagine if there's someone who you just don't get along with, how hard is it to work with that person? It's quite difficult, right? But if it's someone you get along with really well, then you working together, you collaborating, you supporting each other becomes much, much easier. The other thing is that it actually helps you when challenges arise, because you might find that there are very, very difficult things that you need to go through. And as the leader, sometimes you lose hope, right? You start thinking differently and you need someone to come and help you with that. And this is one of the things that happens. Alhamdulillah, like, I'm very fortunate to have business partners. And so the times when I felt low or I felt like doubt or anything like that, they come in and they push me up. And this is what a great team will do for you when you have these unbreakable relationships as well. So what are the main components for this? The first is care and empathy. Okay, I say this for coaching, I say this for relationships. The main thing is that you have to care about that person. And having that level of care, that level of empathy, it will change everything. So you really, really need to think about this person. You can't just treat them as team members or employees. You have to care for them deeply. And this is one of the things I try and do, really. I try and understand the world of my volunteers on my team. Like, what's going on in their life? What's going on in their world? What's going on with their families? What's going on with this? And I'm talking about taking a genuine interest in the person, in their lives, and really being there for them as a form of support. And I found this, like, I actually did this thing where I had these people who I managed for many years, and then they went and got managed by someone else, and then they came back to me. And when they came back to me, they said, oh, we're so happy that you're going to manage us. And I said, why are you so happy? And they said, well, we know that you really care about us. You care about us, you care about our growth, you care about our families. So just by having this care, that actually makes a massive difference. Now, a bonus thing here is that, remember, it's not just about caring, it's actually about showing that you care as well. So sometimes you need to take actions that will show you care. It's not enough just to say you care. So for example, someone says, oh, this happened to me over the weekend. You can just say, oh yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. Or you could say, oh, you lost your light? Okay, cool. And then you could just buy them a light as a replacement and say, hey, I know you lost your light, so here's a light for you, right? And that's it. Like that itself has a massive impact on the relationship. The next thing is shared values. So obviously, when you have values that are similar, that actually really, really helps. So for example, if you have someone who really values hard work, imagine you've got two people who have a relationship together and they both value hard work. That's going to work really well. Now imagine you have two people where one person does not value hard work at all and looks down at it, and you have another person that really values hard work. You see the fact that they have values which are opposites could cause a lot of friction. So you want to make sure that you have shared values. Now, part of this obviously is when you're building your team or volunteers or anything like that, you need to make sure that you align with people, even friends, who share your values. And if you do that, you'll actually save yourself a lot of pain as well. The next thing is for you to create trust. Trust is the foundation of the relationships. So you really, really need to think about how you're going to do that. Now, of course, just doing some of the basic things. For example, there's a lot of people who have their trust broken because they have this situation where maybe you went and told someone something that was supposed to be between you two, and then they go and tell someone else. When they go and tell someone else, that breaks your trust. That affects the relationship. But it can also be other things. So for example, if you said to someone, okay, I'm going to be here by 3 p.m. and then you come at 4 p.m. and you don't say anything, that will also ruin trust as well. So a lot of this is to do with integrity. It's about being at peace and in whole with your words and your actions. So you need to make sure that you actually maintain that with these people. Now, part of trust creation, we're human beings. We're always going to break trust. This is going to happen, especially in long-term relationships. So part of that is actually not only creating trust, but rebuilding trust. You might find that creating trust is actually easier than rebuilding it, because when someone's trust is broken, then it can take work to rebuild it. So these are the three main things when it comes to unbreakable relationships. So we've covered the unstoppable mindset, the vision, the unbreakable relationships. Now we're going to go on to communication, right? We're going to go on to communication. Now, what is impactful communication? So this is the ability to convey a message. Now, very interesting. Whenever I do public speaking training and stuff, I ask people, what's the whole objective of communication? And they say to communicate a message. Okay. And I say, well, is that really the case? Like if I said to you, imagine I went out to the streets and I started speaking to non-Muslims and I was like, you're going to hellfire if you don't change your beliefs. Like, would you say I've communicated? Do you say that's like communication, right? And then they say, no, it's not that. Because it's more than that. It's about not only being clear, but also being persuasive. And you want to leave a lasting effect on the audience. So this involves more than just speaking or writing. It's about engaging the listener or reader emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Effective communication is purposeful, intentional, and tailored to the audience needs and concerns, using language that resonates with them. It builds trust, fosters connection, and motivates action. Why is this important? Because impactful communication is essential because it shapes how a leader's vision, values, and goals are understood and embraced by others. I want to give you an example, right? Like the world we live in today is very different from the old days. You know, in the old days, maybe like 100 years ago, people had slaves. You know, maybe they beat their slaves. If the slave didn't listen, they beat them and they made them do things. Well, today we don't live in that world, right? Like if you have someone in your team that doesn't do what you ask them to do, you can't just beat them, right? You can't just hurt them and just... So really in today's world, you don't have anything except your communication to influence people, right? That's the main thing. Unless you're like a head of a country or something like that, you don't really have any power except your communication to make things happen. And this is why impactful communication is so important. And having this level of clear communication, this persuasive communication, it actually builds the relationships. It aligns everyone into a certain place. You know, there's so many times when I've seen family problems arise from misunderstandings. And why were the misunderstandings happen? Because there was miscommunication. So communication is not just about your vision and your values and all this stuff. It's also about realizing that it will cause big issues for you if it's not done clearly and concisely and persuasively. And this will actually lead to conflicts. But the best thing about it is that it can actually help you to resolve conflicts as well when it's done correctly. So without impactful communication, even the best strategies or ideas may fail to gain traction, ultimately limiting a leader's ability to drive success and create meaningful impact. So what we're saying is that even if you have the best product in the world, for example, if you are not able to communicate the value of it, it may never become the best product. You need to be able to communicate effectively even when you have the best things, and that then creates the opportunity for you to be great in all the other areas as well. Now, I want to go back to the test. So we said the test of life and death is who will be the best in deeds. And we said, how do you get the best deeds? We said the way you get the best deeds is by having the best actions. How do you have the best actions? By having the best intentions. How do you have the best intentions? By making the best decisions. How do you make the best decisions? It's by you having the best mindset. Now, the big question here, which you should have been asking yourself before as well, is how do you get the best mindset? Like, what brings the best mindset? Because in a way, this is actually the secret to getting the best deeds and the secret to everything, right? So the way you get the best mindset, the paradigm, the way to build a paradigm is through language, okay? If you think about your own head and the thinking that goes on in there, you immediately use language to build your thinking and your paradigm and your world. And I'll give you an example, right? I want you to think about something that happened when you were a child. It could be anything, okay? Anything. Now imagine that you're going to tell me about that thing, okay? So let me tell you about something that from my mind, okay? So I remember when I was a child, and I remember I was playing at a cousin's house. And while we were playing, there was a big painting on the wall. It was like some sort of frame or something, right? And I was jumping up and down. And when I was jumping, the frame hit my head. I fell down and I think it hit me again, right? And I just remember laying there and crying. And then my mum comes and all this kind of stuff. Now, look at this world that I just built. I built a world where I was a child, where I was at my cousin's house. This is a true story, by the way, right? And think about all this. How did I communicate that to you? This is all done through language. And in the same way, when you are doing your thinking and you are looking at the world, you are doing it through language. So for example, let's say that you've got a person who you've got a really bad mindset towards. You're going to think, okay, who is this person? This person is arrogant. This person is selfish. This person is angry. When you start saying these words, it builds a picture, it builds a mindset. That then gives you a certain decision, which has your intentions, actions, and deeds. So in order for you to have the best deeds, you must have the best language. And this is why communication is so important and it's so underrated. Unfortunately, as Muslims, we should value communication more than ever. Why? Because how do we get the best deeds? Well, by the best language. What is the best language? What is the best language of all? It is the words of Allah, right? Of everything, the words of Allah are the greatest speech. So in order for you to have the best deeds, it all goes back to you having the best words. And the best words are the words of Allah. And can you see how this all links up now? That truly, if you want to have the best deeds, it goes back to the book of Allah and of course the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, right? So what are the components for the communication? The first thing is clarity and purpose. So it's really, really important that you are clear when you speak. If you are not clear, people will not be able to understand you. If they don't understand you, they won't be influenced by it. And the whole objective is for you to influence them. But if they don't understand it, you cannot influence them, right? So you need to make sure that your message is clear. Now, I'm not just talking about clear in how you're speaking, but also clear in the words that you use. And a great example of this, by the way, is you get all these people who are like professors and they do philosophy and they talk in very complex terms, right? But if you look at someone like Trump, now, I don't care if you hate Trump or you love him, whatever. The point is the way he speaks is very simplistic. It's in short sentences. It's very easy to understand. Even a child could understand it. So when people understand it, some of the people that understand it, they will be influenced by it. So when you're speaking, you need to make sure that you are speaking with clarity. The other part of this is not just being clear, but being clear on your objective. Like, why am I actually communicating? And there's different levels and ways of communicating. So for example, if you are communicating to someone to congratulate them on something, you might say something like, oh, well done. Like, even your way of talking might be like really nice and friendly. Well done. That's so great. You did really well. All this kind of stuff, right? Or if you're talking to someone about the fact that someone passed away, your tone might be much lower, right? You might say, oh, I'm really sorry to hear someone passed away, like that. But what if you had to evacuate a building because there was a fire? Would you just say, oh, guys, we need to leave No, the way you would talk and the words you would be used would be very different, and your communication would be very clear. You'd be saying, everyone, we must leave this building right now. Walk, do not run, go down the stairs, do not use the lift. Like you're talking with clear objective of what you're trying to do. So when you're thinking about, I'm about to communicate something, you need to think, why am I actually communicating? What's the objective of the communication? And then how can I be clear as possible to communicate that? The next one is emotional storytelling. Alhamdulillah, so many people have come to my training, and maybe they came to my training years and years ago. Like I was speaking to one brother, I think I trained him like 8 years ago or something. And he was saying to me, bro, I still remember this about your training. I still remember this about your training. Why? Because all I do in my training is I just tell loads of stories. And those stories, they stay in the memory. Now, one of the things about stories is that you have to try and paint the picture like we were saying earlier. You want to paint the picture just like you do of a vision. But just by you telling stories, people will remember stories. The other thing that is the crucial thing about stories is that they must be emotional. The more emotional a story, the more you will remember it. So when you're trying to communicate anything to people, make sure that you use stories. It could be stories of the Prophet ﷺ, it could be stories from your own life, it could be stories of people you admire. It doesn't matter whose stories they are, but it's really important that they're emotional and they're clear and they're objective. And of course, when you're telling that story, you want to paint it in a way where they can actually see it. Like make it like a movie, but rather with your description rather than filming it or something like that. And of course, great thing is you've got iPhones now, so you could film stories like that as well. And then the last point is active listening. So obviously part of communication is listening. This is so important because if you think about the objective of communication being influence, well, how do you influence someone? Well, the way I would influence someone is by using what already influences them, right? So if you know, for example, someone loves, let's say, Liverpool Football Club, then you know that they might be influenced by that, okay? So if you said, hey, do you want to go out to a Liverpool match? They might be very, very interested in that because they know that they love Liverpool and you know that as well. But the only way you discover these things is by listening and really understanding the paradigm of the person that you're communicating to. And this is why whoever your audience is, you want to really understand as much as you can about them, and then you want to use those things to influence them. I remember there was a friend of mine, he was giving dawah to someone and he said that he's a non-Muslim. He said he knew that this guy had been stabbed in the past. Okay. So when he was giving him dawah, he said to him, life is very short. Like, you don't know, someone could just come and stab you at any time. Okay. Now, if you've been stabbed, imagine the impact of that. Like, you actually get that point. It's very graphic. It's very real. I'm not saying you do this, but I'm just trying to illustrate the point that you can imagine when he said that, the guy must have thought, yeah, absolutely correct. Life is short. I could have died that time. Right. And this is why active listening is so important. Now, the final step. So we said unstoppable mindset, compelling vision, unbreakable relationships, the impactful communication. And then the last one is relentless execution. This is one of the most important things. What is it? So it basically is you being committed to consistently following through on taking action, right? Going through and getting those tasks and those goals done, no matter what obstacles come up. It doesn't matter what challenge comes up. It's about maintaining a high level of discipline, focus, and persistence. Okay? This is about you ensuring that every action is taken, is aligned with the overall vision and purpose. So you want to make sure what you're doing is actually the right thing. And then you want to make sure that you do it consistently. And you want to make sure you do as much of it as you can. Okay, so in a leadership context, it means setting clear goals, holding oneself and the team accountable, and relentlessly pursuing success without allowing distractions or setbacks to derail progress. Relentless execution is a key driver of results, fostering a culture of action, accountability, and continuous improvement. This is one of the things, by the way, when you become an inspiring leader, you're going to create this culture which is very different to maybe your current culture. And this will be one that people actually take action. They take extreme ownership. They have accountability, and they are continuously improving themselves as well. So why is this important? Well, it's important because it turns plans and ideas and goals into real results. Okay? Without execution, even the best strategies and intentions remain theory. So basically what we're saying is that if you have a good idea, if you don't put it into action, nothing's going to come from it, right? It also ensures consistent progress, accountability, and momentum to help overcome obstacles and setbacks. When you execute relentlessly, you build habits of persistence, discipline, and focus, which are essential for long-term success. So what this is saying is that the harder you work, the more disciplined you're going to become, the more focused you're going to become. And if you just keep taking action, you will build that muscle of action. So right now, you might be someone who doesn't take much action. But I'm saying to you, it's just like a muscle. As long as you start slow, you will find that you start to build it and you do better with it. And the more you do, the quicker you grow, inshallah. It also instills a sense of ownership and responsibility, creating a culture of action and high performance. Ultimately, relentless execution translates vision into reality. So what we're saying is that really, the way you're going to get to your destination, that vision, is by you being relentless. Okay, taking action, not giving up. Imran Khan, he always says, the famous cricketer and prime minister, he said, you only lose when you give up. You only lose when you give up. And I'll give you an example of this. We said before, imagine your destination is going to Manchester. Imagine you're leaving from London to go to Manchester. You're going to go in the right direction. You're going to go in M1 North. But imagine you go there and you see, oh, the motorway is closed. Well, if you give up and you just stop there, you'll never get to your destination. If you turn back home, you'll never get to your destination. But if you say, it doesn't matter, I'm going to find another route, and then you go to the diversion, and then you find another route and another route, and you just keep going, eventually, you will definitely get there. Okay? Unless the qadr of Allah takes over, you die or something like that, you will definitely achieve that. As long as you're going in the right direction, you keep moving, you will get there. And this is why it's so important to remember that persistence overcomes resistance. Whenever you try and do something, you're going to face that resistance. You're going to face obstacles. But the thing that beats it is you being persistent. And the way you be persistent is to constantly take action over and over again until you get there. So what are the main three components for this? The first thing is, before you take actions, it's really important for us to have sincere intentions. You know, I hate doing bad intentions and bad things like that because I feel like Allah abandons you. If you try and do an intention to do something really bad, something evil, Allah will not be with you in that. And not having Allah with you is very scary. So when you're thinking about taking an action, you want to make sure that you have sincere intentions. Make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Make sure that this is something that Allah will be pleased with. And like we talked about, looking at it through the lens of someone who is Muslim, someone who is worried about pleasing Allah. But ultimately making sure that whenever you take action, you are sincere and doing that for the sake of Allah. But also, when you're dealing with people, you want to make sure that you're doing it sincerely as well, not trying to deceive or something else. The second thing is to take decisive action, right? So there's this quote that I really, really like. I keep doing it. I was even teaching it to my kids the other day. And it said that money loves speed. Wealth loves, time. Yeah, wealth loves time. And poverty loves indecision. So what this is saying is that if you want money, you should act fast, right? And if you want wealth, then that comes with time. And it's saying if you want to be poor, then be indecisive. Because when you are indecisive, it really takes you nowhere. And so one of the most important things is you need to get really good at making decisions about which actions to take. Taking the wrong decision can actually delay you, can ruin things, could end you, right? Decisions are so important. So for you, you need to get really good at making decisions. And then you need to act upon them. So part of this is you deciding, okay, what action am I actually going to take? And then it's like, right, I am going to do it. And then going out and doing it. So getting really good at making decisions and making sure that you're taking the right actions. Now, part of taking the right actions, for example, are barakah actions. What are barakah actions? Barakah actions is where you put a little bit of effort in and you get so much back. Okay? So for example, Hadith Prophet ﷺ, he said that, reading Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Surah Ikhlas 3 times is like reading the Quran, the whole Quran, right? So you can see, like, you do like a minute of effort, maybe even 40 seconds, and you get so much from it. Okay, and you want to do these kind of actions. You don't want to do the opposite kind of action where you spend 5 hours on something and it gives you like a 10% result. You want to spend like 1 hour on something and get like an 80% result. And this also links into the 80-20 rule that you might know about as well. The last thing is consistency and growth. So one of the main reasons that we don't be successful is because we get very hyped when we start something, and then after that we don't stay consistent. And I'll give you a good example of this. Arabic. If you go to the first lesson of an Arabic class, you will see it is full, okay? Like so many people coming. Go to week 2, less people. Week 3, less people. Week 4, maybe the teacher's saying we're not doing this anymore, right? Because people are not consistent. So you need to realize that it's not just about starting and taking action. It's about doing it consistently. Now, the other important thing to remember is that when you are taking action, it's not just about taking the same action over and over again. When you do an action, you want to look at the action. You want to get feedback and you want to realize, is this action good? Did it work? And if it didn't, what do I need to change? How can I improve? What do I need to do differently? And if you do that, what you'll find is that not only are you doing consistent action, but you are iterating and you are improving. And so every time you do something, you are getting better and better and better. And you'll see this with people who have very successful YouTube channels. If you go and look at their first ever video, it is terrible. But if you look at their journey, you will see they've improved with every video they're doing, or every few videos. They keep improving, they keep adding new things, they keep doing things differently until they have 10 million subscribers, right? So in the same way, when you're taking action, you want to make sure that yes, you take lots of action, you do it for Allah, you're decisive, you take the right type of action. But when you've done it, you need to reassess and you need to look at it and you think, how can I improve it? How can I iterate it? How can I do it better next time as well? So these are the 5 steps to lead with impact. First of all, we said you need to build that unstoppable mindset, and we gave you the components for that. I said the compelling vision is what's going to drive other people and get you guys aligned and motivated. And those unbreakable relationships, you really need to build them, cultivate them, nurture them so that they will help you in the tough times and get you to where you need to get to. We also said communication is the key. It's actually the key to everything. The way you communicate with yourself, the way you build paradigms in your mind, the way you speak to other people, and therefore this will really change how you impact people. And then of course we said relentless action is the key to making this all a reality, inshaAllah. So remember, like I said at the start, if you want to get help with the mindset, building that, we have a bootcamp called the Fearless Muslim Bootcamp. You can get access to it for free right now, and it will really, really help you with these things. If not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do press like. You can imagine how much effort we've gone to get these videos out to you. So please just press like. That you should do with the intention of getting others to benefit from this as well. And if you enjoyed this video, you should definitely check out the next one too. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.